Hey yo, what is up, my good people? It is your boy, Big Chris, aka the Compton Animator, and I'm here to bring you another dumb as hell video review. So, on today's show, we're gonna be talking about a little movie that just came out, I think this weekend, I wanna say? And it's a Marvel movie called Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Now, this is a movie that this weekend was my first time going back to the movie theater since whole COVID thing popped off for us. And I went to go see it at a drive-in, and I was like really happy to actually get back to a type of theater experience, getting to see it on the big screen and everything. Even though I am a huge fan of the streaming service, I love being at home, not having to deal with people in crowds and all that other BS, and just watching these movies on my own time. But I'm also, a movie fan and stuff like that. I love movies. Movies are my thing. TVs are my thing and stuff like that. And, that's my job per se. So, I always love this type of stuff. And, going back to the theater was a fun experience, especially doing it at a drive-in this time. Was a really fun. I haven't been to a drive-in since, probably since I was a kid, so that was a really good experience. But back on to Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, little IMDb synopsis. So, Shang-Chi, the master of the unarmed weaponry-based kung fu, is forced to confront his past after being drawn into the Ten Ring organization. Now, this movie is directed by Dustin Daniel Crayson. It stars Simu Liu as Shang-Chi, Aquafina as Katie, Tony Cha Wan Lung, I'm gonna mess up a lot of his names, as Zhang Wenyu, Ben Kingsley as Trevor Sovry, and a bunch of other people who names I don't want to mess up. But as far as some of the small things for me, no, let's go into something different. As far as how I'm gonna set my reviews up, as always, we go into 4 parts. We start off with my overall expectations going in, my overall positive feelings on the movie, my overall mixed feelings, and then I end it with an overall score. So, expectations going into this movie, I felt pretty neutral. Um, from the trailers, what I saw, the movie looked pretty chill. I liked all what I was going to see with a lot of the action and stuff like that. Like, this being an Asian cast and everything was really a big thing for me because I was a huge fan of the Black Panther, especially being black. I was a huge fan of not only just the Black Panther as a movie, but also as an experience, and that's what I was kind of hoping this would be as well. Watching that was exciting, it was fun and stuff like that, and just watching a group full of people, you almost caught a tear in my eye when I was watching Black Panther, and I was hoping, kind of to get that experience from this movie, seeing how well Marvel can use the Asian culture and use the stuff of like kung fu and everything to tell a story and to create a movie. A lot of that was very interesting to me. I was also pretty interested in seeing what they can do with the Shang-Chi storyline from the comic books and stuff like that. In the old comics, he was I think they called him Kung Fu in the old comics, and that was a Shang-Chi character. And I remember reading the comic books and seeing him with the Mandarin and stuff like that once it got on further and stuff like that. And that was a pretty exciting thing and something I was really expecting to and seeing how are they going to use the 10 rings and stuff like that. Like, 10 Rings was a big thing for me growing up because I was a huge Iron Man fan. Like, Iron Man is my favorite comic book character and all that stuff. So I was very interested to see how they were going to do the 10 Rings and how all that stuff is going to differ from the comics. And to start off with, man, let's go into the positives. Overall, my biggest positive with this movie is the overall martial arts, man. If you want to talk about in the last, 10 or 15 years, there have been very few like really great martial art movies, especially done in America. I can't really name many besides something like a John Wick, where the martial arts you go and watch it, you go, yo, the martial arts here is amazing. They do a damn good job in here. I remember John Wick having that. There's probably a few other movies like a Blade here and there and stuff like that, where at least the main actor is really good at martial arts. You have a bunch of stuff from overseas, the Korean movies and stuff like that, like The Raid or the Chinese stuff with Jet Li and stuff like that. Those movies are great and everything, but I wanted to see what a big budget movie could do with this type of kung fu and stuff like that, and telling a more Eastern story and everything. And dude, Marvel did a phenomenal job with that. Like, this movie's martial arts was number one. It was very filmed well. Like, they did a great job with the camera work on a lot of the martial arts here. the cameras never really had the issue of, oh, we're cutting, because the actors couldn't do martial arts. That was something we saw a lot of in the Mortal Kombat movie, where the actors who can do martial arts really knew what they were doing. So the camera stuck on them and didn't really have to move that much, and didn't really have to do anything besides just get good shots and get good angles and stuff like that. That's what this movie did, and it never really cut at all. Like, that was so dope to watch a martial art movie where you can actually see what's going on. You can actually tell what's happening. It kind of reminded me of the Daredevil TV show and how they filmed the martial arts there. They did a really good job with that, with sweeping camera movements and just really good shots and stuff like that. Like, the visuals all together in this movie, which is another thing I super enjoyed. Like, the colors, the way the people's costumes are. Like, Simu Liu character, he had like a little jacket on that was orange and blue, that also kind of reminded me of like a Goku outfit. So I was like, this the guy could be Goku as well, man. Like, um all the visuals all together, like a lot of the way they used 10 rings and stuff like that, as far as the visual of those were great. I also love that any type of creature that they had in this movie was really well done. Any type of action and stuff like that was really well done, and it looked real. It looked close up and stuff. You could tell it was choreographed and everything, but it was very well done, man. Like, I really enjoyed a lot of the aspects of the martial arts, the camera work, the visuals. Also the cast here. The cast was very fun. I would say my favorite character is probably uh, I think the guy who plays Shang-Chi, I got to get that right. The guy who plays Shang-Chi was really good here. I wouldn't say he was stand out per se. He kind of reminded me of Chadwick Boseman in what do you call the movie, in Black Panther, to where he kind of took a small backseat in the movie to let the other characters shine a little bit more, but you could still tell he was a focal point in the movie and that he was the main character, but he was allowing the characters around him to shine. Like Aquafina in this movie, who from the trailers, I thought she was going to be very annoying and just going to be too much. If you ever watch anything with Aquafina, like, I like her. I heard a lot of people talking mess about her and saying that she does black voice and stuff like that, and she acts black or whatever. And I'm like, the chick grew up in Queens, New York, and stuff, and all around New York. So that's not an issue to me. Like, that's everybody. Like, we have Asians and black people out here who not Asians, but Asians and Hispanic people who have a lot of blackness to them out here. So that didn't bother me with her at all. But the way she was in this movie was really good. Like, not every joke hit for her, but the jokes had landed when they could, and she was serious when she needed to be. She was excited and she was cute when she needed to be. It wasn't all just kind of goofy side character and stuff. And they did a really good job with that. I would also say that the man who played the Mandarin, which is, I want to get his name, Tony Chu. I'm gonna call him. He played Zhao Wen Yu as a character. Basically, I'm calling him the Mandarin because he's basically the Mandarin. But the guy who played the Mandarin, I found him to be very entertaining, and I really liked his character because he played it nicely in the fact that he was still evil. You knew that he was a bad guy. You can see that he was like, okay, I'm this guy who had a bad past, but is trying to get better. And then something happens along the way that says, yo, F all that, I'm going to be bad again. Like, he really had this nice level between his evilness and his character. And even when he was good, you can still kind of tell this hinge of badness in him. The character who played Shang-Chi's mom, the lady who played Shang-Chi's mom, was really good. I think her name was, let's see, I think it's Lee. I think that's the lady name in the movie. But she did a really good job here. The one who played Shang-Chi's sister was really good here too. Zai Ling, I think that was her name. But yeah, she was pretty good here, and I thought the cast all around did a really nice job of just really giving the movie a lot of form, a lot of feel to it and stuff. I, I wouldn't say that there was any character that I particularly disliked. There was Ben Kingsley, who, spoiler alert, came back for this one. They kind of talked about it and showed it in trailers and stuff, but he comes back for this movie as Trevor Solery, I think his name is, and he basically the Mandarin that we saw from Iron Man 3, and he does a really good job here, man. Like, I enjoyed how they used him in this movie, and I enjoyed what they did with. the stuff that we saw in Iron Man 3. I enjoyed how they played it as, it's a serious matter that they had. The guys were terrorists, but the Mandarin here is trying to, take his spot back and trying to take his name back and bring it back into the shadows from what it was back then. And I enjoyed that part. The next thing was, oh man, the comic book references to this movie. Like, I want to say that, like I said earlier, the Ten Rings was something that I really loved in the comics. And if you ever saw them in the comics, they were basically this type of rings where the wearer would wear them all 10 fingers, and they all had a special power and stuff like that. And they all did these crazy things. But the issue was that, to me, in the comics, translating to here, they were a little bit too close to the Infinity Stones. So you always kind of wondered, okay, how are they going to do these in differentiation for the Infinity Stones? And to me, they found a good way with making them these little armbands that you see here. Like, I thought that was a very good idea here. The kind of the Chinese rings that they wear on their arms, like that was a super dope idea. And I really love how they translated that from the comics. And the way they used them in the movie, man, like there were these kind of force projecting things. They also did blocking. They also kind of did created like reuse style energy balls and stuff like that. And just they were very interesting. And also they still have potential to do things going down the road with these characters and stuff. That was very interesting and just entertaining altogether to see them do. What else do we have here? Oh, this is my favorite thing about this movie. Going through this movie, the one thing that kept hitting to me was that, yo, they're doing things a lot better here than in other movies that are tried this similar thing. Like, if you're looking for an Avatar: The Last Airbender movie, watch this one. This thing does things that Avatar: The Last Airbender tried and just failed at. They do their kung fu like Avatar: The Last Airbender at points and just do it 10 times better. If you're looking for a Street Fighter or Dragon Ball Z style movie, this is it. This is what you're going to get here. They give you that type of stuff. If you're looking for a little bit of Mortal Kombat, you get that here. You get the little tournaments and stuff like that. Even if you're looking for a Godzilla style movie, you get that here. Like, they do so much with so many different things, from the way they use the Marvel stuff, from the way they use the the way they use the martial arts things, to just the general way that movie is filmed. Like, all of that was very good and just very exciting to watch. Um, Now with all that said, I do have some mixed feelings. As always, there is something about each movie that I can probably pick apart and, get a little bit of nitpicking here and there and stuff like that. I want to start with the overall plot. The plot is good. Don't get me wrong. I like how they lead into things and how they talk about stuff, but at points it is kind of cliche. It is kind of the whole thing of the character going against himself. It's a little old hat, a little bit of old Marvel stuff. Even though it's a son and dad going against each other, it still kind of feels a little bit like Iron Man 1, to where, it's still kind of son and dad and they both have similar powers and stuff like that. That's kind of a cliche thing that Marvel does with all its characters and stuff like that, especially when they're doing these intro movies where you face yourself as your first challenge. That was a little bit, to me, but it didn't really take away too much from the movie. I would also say there was a little bit too much explaining and exposition going on here. There was a lot of times where characters had to, give a little bit of their back history to just say, "Oh, this is who I am," real quickly, so the audience would know. They did that sometimes instead of having it shown, show don't tell. There was also this one moment where that Shang-Chi and his crew went to a new land and they had to be told all the history of that land, and it was told through looking at statues. Now, that's not a bad idea, but I think I did see it better in other movies like Man of Steel. I think they did their back history of Superman a little bit better there, or even a TV show like the recent Loki. They did it with a character that came at the end and they showed his backstory, and I thought that was pretty well done there, a little bit better than it was done here. I would say this one is a true nitpick. I would have loved to see a lot more of this cast. Even though I really enjoyed the Mandarin here, I would have loved to see him on screen maybe a little bit more and get a little bit more time here, especially during some of the flashback scenes. There were scenes that, like, oh, he finds out something happened to his family, so he's going to get revenge for it. I would have loved to see them expand more into that. There was a scene where Shang-Chi's mom gets into a fight, and there's something that happens with her. They kind of don't show the fight, and I would have loved to have seen that fight. Like, I would have loved to have gotten a little bit more out of each character. It's probably got more moments between Shang-Chi and his family, or more moments between Aquafina and her family and stuff like that. Like, just expand on things and just, give a little bit things more time. The one great thing about this movie is that it went by pretty quickly. And for me, I was kind of like, yo, forget Zack Snyder movies, forget what's his name, Michael Bay movies. I could have sat with this one for 30 more minutes. Give me more action, give me a couple more fight scenes, give me a little bit more time with characters. Like, I sat with this one for a little bit longer and just enjoyed it straight up. Like, and I would have loved to have seen a little bit out of a few more characters. Another thing that's kind of a nitpick as well, and something that I've seen in a bunch of other Marvel movies, was that the end fight scene kind of just set in this gray, blonde kind of field or something like that, right in front of a mountain or something. Um, it does have a lot of color there to it, but it's a little bit more muted and it's grayed out with a lot of dust and stuff like that. And it's a little trope thing that you see in a lot of superhero movies where the big fight scene is happening in either rain or, in just some field or something like that, and everything's all grayed out and stuff like that, and just a little muted and stuff. The fight scene was good, and I liked the action and everything in it, but it was kind of where, things were a little bit too gray, and it feels like a little bit too much like other things that you've seen. Endgame kind of got away with it by just having some really good lighting at points and just, other things. But this one, I would have loved to have seen more color into that end fight scene like we've had in the rest of the movie. And the last thing was that the overall third act was only okay for me. Like, it kind of felt like at that point they had done so much and got so many things through that they just had to try to find a way to end it. The ending was fine, don't get me wrong. I really enjoyed the ending, but like, the ending of the fight wasn't great. I would have loved to have seen, a little bit more creativeness at how they ended the fight. Especially with a couple other things that they've done here and the overall ending of the movie and stuff like that. I did enjoy the extra credit scene. I thought that was good, but just a little bit things here and there in the ending in the third act. Just as like, it's good, just not as great as the first two acts. Like, those first two acts were on a high. Like, they have me here. And the third act kind of just got me to like here. Like, really good, not great. But yeah, that is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Like, I really enjoyed this movie, man. Like, it's probably at the bottom of the top 10 of my favorite Marvel movies. Like, could be even higher if I see it again and just really test it out and see how I feel about it. But I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. And as far as score goes, I got to give it a 4 2/4. I mean, 4 2/4, a 4.25, like, or 4 out of 5. Like, this movie was the martial arts superhero movie that I've always wanted. It did a lot of things that I always wanted, and it was just there for me, man. It was so much there for me, and I just straight up enjoyed it. So yeah, this is my review for Shang-Chi and Legend of Ten Rings. Comment and let me know what you thought about this movie. I would love to get you guys' thoughts of this movie and how y'all went with and how y'all felt and stuff. Like, comment, subscribe, and thank you for watching. I'm gonna have some more stuff coming up soon. Word up. Peace.